I'm Caroline Romo, and I'm the Executive Director of the New Mexico Beef Council. And this is our new podcast, Behind the Burger. And I'm here with Belinda Lavender to talk about her role in the beef industry and how her and her family raise cattle for our industry. So, Belinda, thanks for being our guinea pig. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's my pleasure, Caroline. I'm Belinda Lavender of Lavender Brangus, and my husband Marty and I raise Brangus seed stock in eastern New Mexico, about 30 miles from Clovis. And we have been involved in the cattle business our entire lives. And he stayed in Melrose forever, and I left and found my way back here. And we have been spending the last 12 years trying to raise better Brangus cattle to primarily serve commercial breeders with bulls and heifers in West Texas and eastern New Mexico, and actually all over New Mexico. Our grandparents established themselves in this area in the 1900s, and we are very fortunate to be able to carry on that tradition and heritage. It's just something that we love doing.
That's awesome. So you talked about your grandparents were here, so you've kind of already talked about the history and the family aspect, but I don't know if there's any more to expand on that of the beef industry is a family legacy.
Oh yeah, it's very large. I was born at Copeland, so we have family in northern New Mexico, Copeland Herefords, and so they've been doing that as long as my grandpa was here. They were brothers, and so they came from Texas, and their great-grandfather was a judge, and there's a newspaper article about when he quit the judgeship and he just wanted to go home maybe with his cows. And so I guess that's kind of in our blood, and, how we just have it in us to be with cattle and want to be in that part of the industry.
That's really special. So what is the most rewarding part of being a rancher or being a cattlewoman?
The most rewarding part for me is creating genetics that we see improvement from generation to generation. We have cows that are 12 years old that have daughters and granddaughters in the herd that, they get better every year. And, we can see the genetic components of those cattle, getting better and doing better. And, that's such a giant, people understand, we're raising fewer cattle to provide meat for more people because the genetics have improved so much. And it's really cool to be a part of that, and, to do the DNA and to see the carcass merit that cattle bring, and to see that big improvement in, seed stock and commercial. That's one of the best things about our operation.
Yeah, to actually see it through. All your hard work is paying off through the generations. So, for our audience, theoretically, that isn't as familiar, how do you care for your animals? How do you, maintain their health and well-being?
Our cattle are given vaccinations at the various stages of their life and treated with the utmost respect when handling. Docility is very important to our operation, and Caroline saw that today, and it is to most of our bull customers. We're in our cattle a lot on a daily basis, and so we know them, we know their personalities, we see when they're not feeling well, and we, health issues we need to address. We rarely have to doctor an animal, but when we use an antibiotic, it's in a life-bettering situation, just like we treat our human loved ones. We don't want to use those, but when it comes to the part of, is this going to make their life better at the moment? Yes, we're going to doctor an animal.
We definitely saw how much your cattle love and appreciate you, and specifically you, right? They knew you were coming, and they came for scratches and love. I think that's awesome. What's one thing most people don't know about raising cattle, raising beef?
Not all beef is the same. Cattle carry carcass merit values, and ranchers are actively practicing better selection to ensure cattle are valuable when they are ready to be harvested and give the consumer, a greater product that's more efficient.
Yeah, that's, I think, a really important part that, you are looking into the, science of it and the genetics and you guys are focused intensely on doing a better job every year and all that. So how do New Mexico's landscapes and climate shape your ranching methods? And I know we talked about whether or not you call it a rancher or we've had this conversation, I think, in the office is, are you a rancher? Are you a cattlewoman? So I mean that with whatever noun you prefer.
I will carry both of those titles with pride.
Awesome.
It doesn't really matter. So,
Awesome.
There's nothing prettier than our cow herd standing in belly deep grama grass on our ranch. On the other side of that, there's nothing harder to see than your cows getting fed every bite because of the lack of rain. Rainfall has become less predictable in historical, as the saying was, April showers bring May flowers. That is not always the case these days. So, just trying to live with the elements, and, the eastern side of the state used to get, rainfall in the monsoon. We knew when our monsoon was, and now we don't know. And this year we got rain in November, 2 weeks before the freeze. And, spring will be great, and we've had some snowfall, but, we don't know what will, the unknown, because we don't have that predictable rainfall anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. What role, speaking of the land, right, in your landscapes, what role does land and resource management play in your practices?
We try to rotate pastures, supplement with hay and feed to save pastures. In the last few years, that's been quite a struggle. We saw our cows today on milo stalks. That was a milo crop that failed and would not be cut, and we were able to get that for feed for the winter. So the cattle were able to take something that was wasted and turn it into something, that's provided them great nutrition for the winter. And so that, there was no waste, and they upcycled that milo crop that was a failure, that would have just been put back into the ground and gone on. But they've really done well on it, and we're very grateful to have it.
That's awesome. What about, you've already talked about some challenges, but what is the biggest challenge or the biggest challenge that you face?
Probably the climate, the rain, and just not knowing when, the predictability of it, it's just not there anymore. And so just not knowing there's going to be green grass in June. We don't know. And because it used to be where we would get rain in, April, May, you would know it was going to rain some, but it's not so much anymore. And, but when it does, we've been very fortunate to be able to get some farmland and make our own hay and take care of our cattle better. So that's the biggest challenge for us.
Yeah, it probably causes some always having to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What is your favorite part of what you do?
The big picture, from pasture to plate, each individual along the way that does their part in the beef industry, the commercial cattleman that has 5 cows, and wants to lease a bull or use a bull for a small fee, and to the guy who has 600 cows, and to the guys that work at the NCBA office in Denver that do their part to promote our product. It's just been such a eye-opening experience to see all of that and giving me a new perspective of everything. So the big picture, it's been really fun to see it.
That's awesome. I love that. So, we talk about you've got the climate you've got to fight, and then we were seeing, breaking waters and talking about ice and stuff today. So you face a lot of challenges. But why do you do what you do? Why do you still wake up when it was 1 degree earlier this week and you're still
Tuesday
going?
Morning, yeah.
Yeah, you're still gonna go break waters and feed before you go to teach. Why do you keep doing it?
The love of the cattle. We love the cattle, and the camaraderie in the industry, from our commercial buyers to the people who exhibit the international champions. We have a wide variety of folks in our corner, and it's just a great place to be, and a great place to have your family involved, and that's why we do it.
Well, we're glad you do, right? We need you, and we need a lot of people like you. So, what's your favorite thing? I guess this always feels a little self-serving since I work for the checkoff at the New Mexico Beef Council. But what's your favorite thing that the checkoff is doing, or the Beef Council is doing, or even if it's something that you hope we do soon? Or
The new nutrition program for the classroom. that will be launched. As a teacher of intermediate age students, they wanted to know, about food. They posed a question one Monday morning: if everything in a cheeseburger is good for you, why is a cheeseburger bad for you? Well, that spawned a whole week of studying of minerals and vitamins and food nutrition. And my favorite part was, Mrs. Lavender, meat appears in so many nutritional categories. Yes, it does. It's so good for you. And so, kids that don't really have an ag background, they, came to that on their own. I tried to be very, I didn't try to push them into that. I just wanted them to discover that themselves. And that was just one of the cool things to watch, was they were just like, meat is in so many categories.
A power-packed protein, we like
Yes.
to say, right? That's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or about your operation, or about the beef industry, about...
I think it'd be interesting for folks to know that aren't in the industry that, DNA is such a big thing. People 21andMe, and people send in and find out what breed their dog is. But the cattle industry has probably as much DNA on file as humans do, because all seed stock, whether it's Brangus, Angus, Charolais, Hereford, people are sending in tons of DNA on animals, and genomics are a huge thing in the industry, and people trying to make cattle better and seeing how they can do that. But DNA is such a huge part of the cattle industry, and I just don't think people realize that. So
that's really interesting.
It's super interesting to me. So
yeah, absolutely.
Nerdy cattle woman here.
No, that's good. That's good. I think we were even talking about with that school, with some education conversations about how the DNA conversation is an important science, lesson that they have to give, so we can teach it through cattle too. It's a great way. Like we were talking about genetic traits in some of your cattle too.
Yes.
What about, we'd love to hear a favorite recipe.
I'll give a little teaser.
Okay.
I have taken this. We have the Taste of the States at our National Brangus show, and we have taken this and competed every year we've gone. And it's homegrown New Mexico beef, the green chili, secret sauce, and my favorite New Mexico cheddar, and corn tortillas. And so we'll get that recipe out, and
there you go. We'll I don't know if it's a secret. It's okay if you keep it for the events. People just have to come to a Leaf Council event to get it too.
yeah,
That
or
might be.
I usually take it if something terrible happens to someone or something. You can cut that.
Well, I won't. Yeah, I won't hope for that.
I was going to make it for you tonight, but today was a little crazy.
Oh no, you're fine. That's awesome. And then I have one question that wasn't on the list, but it's just something we're talking about for March is National Nutrition Month, and the theme is Food Connects Us. Mm-hmm. And just wanted to see if you had any thoughts on what that means to you. What does food connecting you mean?
I guess, I was very fortunate to grow up with a family that we ate together every meal. I mean, breakfast and, lunch was, questionable because we were either at school or my dad was at work, or, but breakfast and supper, we were always together. And, and if there was ever a joyful occasion or a sad occasion, my mom always took meals to people, and food was such an important part of that. And I think in our small community, it's still, that food speaks joy and it speaks sorrow to people as well, to let them know that we care either way. And I think that's really important.
Oh, absolutely. I think when you say that, it makes me think of, I don't always remember what was being cooked, but I do remember who's around the table. Right. Because it's the food that brought us there, but the connection is more important.
My kids always say that I made roast every Sunday, and they can't eat roast now, but I think they were trying to live vicariously through me as a child, because I'm pretty sure that I had roast every Sunday. My mom gets a lot of heck about her roasts. She still tries to cook them, and we always are like, I don't know, can you follow a recipe? But again, the important part is you're eating. Not what you're having, but who's around the table.
Yeah.
And that's such a huge component.
And you're nourishing your body. You've got to do
Yes.
that. It's an important part of nutrition. You got to fuel your body. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview and talking to us and letting me see a little bit of your operation. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming, and it was our pleasure to host you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Behind the Burger is a podcast produced by the New Mexico Beef Council with the goal of telling the stories of the cattlemen and cattlewomen of the New Mexico beef industry. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. If you would like more information, please visit nmbeef.com. Whether it be a burger, a steak, or another beef dish, we hope you are enjoying beef at your next meal.